Hello everyone, in this video we're going to draw a Velociraptor from the Jurassic Park movies. First we'll draw a few simple shapes for a bit of structure, then we'll add the final drawing on top using easy line work, and then we'll add some shading for the final result. I'll add a link for the materials used in the description below. Let's jump in. Start by drawing a big circle as a guide for the head. And an easy way to draw a circle is to first make a couple of small marks to indicate the circle's height, and then on the sides, add a couple more small marks to indicate the circle's width. And then just connect the small marks using curved lines to finish the shape of the circle. And sketch lightly at first so that it's easy to erase if you make a mistake. Also pause the video as you follow along to draw at your own pace. And you don't have to draw a perfect circle, but if you're having trouble drawing one, it's okay to trace the outer edge of a cup or a lid or anything else with a circular edge. Now let's draw a long sloping line across the head for the circle for a guideline. And the left side of this line should be outside of the circle. And the tilt of the line will determine the tilt of the head. So the Velociraptor is going to be looking down slightly on the left side. That's why this line is tilted lower on the left side. Now make a small mark on the left side of the construction guide, and this will be the front part of the muzzle. And pay attention to the distance between the mark and the edge of the circle. It's about the same as the distance between the middle of the circle. So if the circle where the middle of the circle is here, this distance from here to here is about the same as this distance from here to here. And then just connect the small mark to the circle using curved lines to finish the guide for the muzzle. And the bottom part of this shape should be slightly thinner than the top. This is basically a big arc on its side. Now starting on the top right side of the head, draw a line that curves to the right and then down as a guide for the back portion of the head. So this line is essentially making the head slightly wider. And on the bottom part of the circle, draw a shorter line for the inner edge of the neck. And that's it for the guidelines. Now let's start on the final drawing. Inside the head, lightly sketch a small circle for the eye. And pay attention to the placement of the eye in relation to the circle. So it's close to the top edge of the muzzle and the edge of the circle. Also pay attention to the size. The eye isn't that small. It's actually quite big in relation to the head. And when you get the size and position of the eye right, darken the shape. And as you darken the shape, make the sides pointier for the corners of the eye. And inside the circle, draw a short vertical line for the pupil. And then add a couple of smaller circles inside the shape for highlights. And above the eye, draw a sloping line for the first part of the heavy brow. And then bend the line downward on the right side to further emphasize the shape of the brow. And then draw a similar line higher up for the top edge of the brow. And the left side of this line should be along the path of the initial circle. And then curve the right side of the line downward to make the shape of the brow thicker. And then add a couple of curved lines around the eye for creases on the skin. Now draw the top part of the muzzle along the path of the initial guidelines. And make the line for the muzzle slightly more curved than the initial arc. And at the bottom, draw a line that curves to the right for the mouth. And notice that the line for the mouth is slightly lower than the construction guide. And extend the line far to the right so that it's farther to the right than the eye. And then add the lower jaw along the path of the guide at the bottom. And curve the line up so that the jaw is slightly thinner than the initial guide. And farther to the right, draw a long curved line to make the jaw big, to really emphasize the strong jaw muscles. And curve the line up toward the mouth and draw a curved line around the mouth for a bit of structure. And then curve the line in the middle downward toward the shape of the initial circle. And at the top, draw a short angled line for the visible section of the brow that's on the other side of the head. And now let's add a bit of detail inside the head. So at the front of the muzzle, draw a small thin shape for the nostril. This is sort of similar to a drop of water that's upside down. And then add a couple of curved lines around it for creases on the skin. And then add a couple of curved lines within the head just for the bone structure inside the head. And add a curved line above the mouth for a few more creases, just to add some extra detail on the head. And if you've made it this far, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Now draw the back portion of the head along the path of the guides. And at the bottom, curve the line along the path of the initial circle to create the throat. And add a couple of short lines to create a few creases on the throat. And now erase the guides for a cleaner drawing. And you don't have to erase all of the guides, it's okay if you leave some behind. And if you want to get rid of most of your guides, you can use a thin eraser like this click eraser that I'm using right now. And that really helps get in between the final lines to get most of the guidelines. And then just redraw any of the final lines that you may have accidentally erased. And now let's add a bit more detail across the head just for a bit of structure and definition. So draw a few curved lines on the brow for a bit of detail, and maybe extend the brow slightly downward so that it meets the line for the mouth. And that will create that structure of the bony part of the head. Add a curved line too. This is potentially where the ear was. And add a few more ridges on the muzzle, just for a bit of texture. You can also add a few curved lines for some scaly texture. You don't have to draw every single scale, but if you draw a few curved lines, it'll give the indication of texture without actually drawing every single line for the scales. And notice how these small curved lines are overlapping each other. And a few curved lines above the mouth too, for some creases on the skin. And let's draw some ridges along the head too, by drawing longer curved lines across the back portion of the head. And add a few more lines just for creases on the skin, a bit of loose skin along the neck. Now add some shadows across the head using a medium value, and this will give the figure more dimension and volume. And I'm just using a regular mechanical pencil to shade, or you can also use pencils with different graphite grades, and that will create darker values as well. So this is a 2B pencil, this is a Staedtler 2B pencil. I'll add a link for the materials used in the description, but these work great because they create a dark value and you don't even have to push hard. And here the light is coming from the top, so most of the shadows are going to be on the undersides of the shapes. Add a light value inside the eyes, but don't overlap the tiny highlight circles. And you can also use a bit of value to create a pattern across the head. Then add the stripes on the head too. Just a few small triangular shapes to create the stripes. And then just add a bit of lighter value across the entire head. And go over the final lines again to emphasize the shapes and to make the drawing a bit more graphic. And in this case, I'm using a 7B pencil for a very dark value. And also use a small piece of scrap paper to rest your hand on, and that will prevent smudging. Keep shading until you're happy with the result. And that's it for the Velociraptor. Remember to pause the video to draw at your own pace. Also, please visit howtodrawanimals.com for more tutorials. That's how, and then the number 2, then drawanimals.com. If you'd like to support my channel, please consider buying my books on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description below. Let me know in the comments what other movie creatures you want to see me draw. Don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep drawing.